Good day, gentle viewers. Welcome back to the wonderful, glorious, normal place where we film videos and not my closet. It's good to be back, and so, in today's news, Crunchyroll is getting into music, popular manga gets boxed releases, and Macross lives. We hope. All of that today alongside a look at the spring 2023 anime seasonal rankings. So without any further ado, I am Tristan Gallant, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Let's jam. Love them or hate them, Crunchyroll keeps getting in the news for surprising reasons. Recently, they made a semi-decent marketing push to promote a bunch of new acquisitions and deals related to their music service. Wait, Crunchyroll has music now? You might find yourself asking. Yes. Apparently. But as you might imagine from any company first attempting something that's a little bit out of their usual wheelhouse, they're not really the best at it. While it is great that a big marketing powerhouse like Crunchyroll is taking the time to get a lot of great music from Japanese artists who otherwise would rarely get overseas promotion otherwise, it's the implementation of this whole thing that I find questionable. Not questionable as in it's morally dubious or anything, though with any major corporation, who really knows these days, but questionable as far as its usability. Crunchyroll has a new music tab on their main page that leads to this music section. Oh wait, they don't have that. Well, I guess you can just manually type in crunchyroll.com/music and it gets you there just fine, even if it takes a little bit of extra work. From there, you can browse around and watch a bunch of music videos from the featured artists at your leisure, assuming you are paying for their premium service, that is. There are no freebies here. The problem I see, ignoring the obvious usability issues, is that if you want to listen to any of this music, there are better ways to go about doing it. Sure, if you want to watch the actual music videos, then this is a good way if you have access to it. But maybe I'm just a little bit different. Maybe I'm a YouTuber and question why some of these things are not on YouTube, because I'm usually only one to watch a music video itself every once in a while. Instead, I would rather just, pop the song up on any number of music apps or programs that are available to me. So having people keep coming back to this music section, is that even going to be a thing? Sure, of course, they also have a bunch of other bonus video content like multi-hour long concerts and the like, which is, probably the best selling point that I can find about this whole thing. But even then, rewatching past concerts of bands, I feel like that's more of a very niche market. And this is coming from a website that already is a niche market, technically. Though once again, that might just be me being different. I also get to ask the question of how often is this music corner of their website going to be updated, right? I'm sure music licenses are not cheap, though it also wouldn't surprise me if the only artists that end up being offered here are artists that exist under the worldwide Sony brand, thus making the actual expenses far less for Crunchyroll than they would have been otherwise. And perhaps the entire music section is just going to end up falling under some kind of international marketing for Sony as a whole. Either way, this new music venture is a thing, and if you think that it might be interesting to you and you're already paying for a Crunchyroll premium, have a look, I guess. Seven Seas Entertainment, purveyor of a not insignificant amount of quality manga, has announced that they plan to release 4 boxed sets of some of their more popular franchises. You might have seen manga box sets at stores or at conventions before, because box sets, for a consumer, while costly up front, usually save us from having to track down those stray volumes of manga that disappear from store shelves when you decide to, play it safe and buy just a few volumes of a series at the start, until you finally get around to reading them a couple of months later and then get frustrated at how difficult finding volume 6 actually is. I'm not speaking from personal experience here, but if you already know that you enjoy a manga or you're a huge fan of a show's adaptation and then just want to buy the manga and get caught up on everything, or at least most things, then that is the benefit of a manga box set. And now you can do that with even more manga. Specifically, Seven Seas is offering box sets for Orange, Die Dark, The Ancient Magus' Bride, and Made in Abyss. I am aware of the 3 of these and would recommend them if you are into those genres and the like. I haven't read Die Dark before, so I can't really speak to that, but I actively love Magus Bride, and Abyss is like one of my favorite anime of all time, and the manga is just as good. I'm also surprised to see Orange listed, and I haven't really interacted with Orange much since it got adapted back in 2016, because it's a very interesting series with a lot of elements that I enjoyed, and I'm gonna leave it at that. The downside to this announcement, of course, is the fact that now, well, none of these box sets are actually going to be released until November. So, with that, and also the deluxe editions of Trigun that were announced earlier last month now being released far later than they were announced, well, I mean, we have plenty of time to save up, I suppose. Now, before we continue, I wanted to give shoutouts to supporters of this channel over on Patreon. Because yes, this video is not sponsored, and the more support that we get over there, the less sponsors that Glass Reflection will need at any given time. So an immense thank you especially to patrons like Ahagao Comics, Hector Montemayor, Wago221, Deluxe Flame, City Yamako, Ryvan Bonaparte, Ross Emerson, and Omar Showman. We can't continue this without your support, so however much you are able to help, I am eternally grateful. Here's an announcement that's low on details, but the one big thing is huge news to a very small subset of the anime fandom that I just so happen to find myself a part of. Anime Studio Sunrise has been attached to a brand new animation project for the Macross franchise. Macross, of course, is a fantastic sci-fi drama musical franchise that has historically involved space missiles, romance, and idols singing like cat girls. More well known in the West, of course, is that whole business with a company called Harmony Gold and their acquisition of Macross alongside a few other shows from the era that they turned into this weird amalgamation called Robotech, a series that Harmony Gold hasn't really done anything with for decades, and arguably shouldn't have done anything with in the first place, since, you know, what they did was little more than what MGM did to Nausicaa back in the day. Nobody's watched Warriors of the Wind, and I do not recommend it as someone who has it on VHS. Though I'm sure if I wanted to be a little bit more favorable to it, I could say that Robotech is to Macross what, like, Power Rangers is to Super Sentai. Either way, due to a lot of issues that mostly seem to occur in the back rooms and behind closed doors, Macross has never really had a big impact here in the West. Thank you, Harmony Gold. And while it could have been a wonderful competitor to Gundam in a lot of those markets, well, except outside the Gunpla and model kit market, we instead have just gotten this, you know, occasional nice little sci-fi anime every once in a while that we can't legally watch here in the West. Again, thank you, Harmony Gold. Now, recently a deal was reached between the various companies that own Macross and also Robotech, so that new works could be completed and old works, at the time that was more important, old works could be distributed. Though this does seem to be the first actual announcement of something actually happening. Also interesting part of this news, of course, is that Sunrise is involved. Sunrise, of course, is far more well known in the mecha spaces for being the studio behind the mainline Gundam franchises, and unless I am missing something huge, Sunrise has never actually previously been involved in Macross at all. Most recently, new versions of Macross have been handled by Studio Satelight, and if Satelight was out of business or not doing anime anymore, I could see, you know, a reason as to why they would obviously be cut from the opportunity of continuing with Macross. But that's not the case. In fact, Satelight is even airing an anime in this very season, Rokudo's Bad Girls. Sure, it's not a series I would recommend, but hey, we can't say that the studio is not making anything right now. As I said, though, we know very little other than the fact that it's Macross, it's been greenlit, and Sunrise is attached. What that means going forward is anyone's guess. So speculation time, I'm heavily expecting Sunrise to do a good job, as long as they, you know, A, take it seriously, and B, don't get chained down by any semblance of corporate restrictions that would limit what they creatively could do with the franchise. Because, like, everything Gundam, especially the recent Witch from Mercury stuff, has showcased that they can do all of the great aspects of Macross justice. Hell, I would call this new Macross the best anime of the decade before it even comes out if Sunrise was somehow able to coax Yoko Kanno out of whatever comfy hovel that she's been living her best life in, you know, in order to work on this, since she's done plenty of work with Sunrise over the decades, and Macross Plus back in 1999 1994 was one of the first shows that she worked on, and the first show where she didn't have to share composer credit with anyone else. She has a history with Macross, but this is just probably a pipe dream. I'm just coming out with nonsense that would be amazing, but probably will never actually happen. As it stands, we just know that this new Macross exists, and I will relay more information as it comes out. And now it's time to once again check back in with the anime trending chart to see what anime from this season is doing well, at least in the eyes of the people that vote on this thing. Today we're going to be looking at week 8, having skipped over last week, and a lot of really interesting things happened. Mostly that Oshinoko has gone on their week little hiatus and therefore is off this chart entirely. So everything got moved up a space, except a couple of things that did actually go down. But let's have a look at it. So currently the #1 anime of this week, according to Anime Trending at least, is Heavenly Delusion in the first spot, followed closely by Witch of Mercury Season 2. Witch of Mercury came back last week, according to the week 7 chart, in 5th place, and now it's bumped back up to 2nd, and I'm wondering if that's because people forgot to vote for it, or if people really hated that episode from that week. It ended kind of not great. It's gotten a bit better since, or has it? You'll have to watch the show to figure that one out. But seeing it back in the high end of the top 5 is very good to me. I've been really enjoying it. Now, Insomniacs After School, apparently I need to catch up with this again, because I originally thought I was going to drop it, but I keep hearing people talk about how great it is, and I thought it was just kind of meh. Not in the meh of other shows that I've had a problem with in the past, but at least for the time being, this might be an excuse to get back into it. And it jumped 3 spaces to now be in 3rd. Skip and Loafer is in 4th place, and that's not all that surprising. Skip and Loafer continuing being as good as it has been. Danger in My Heart has popped up into 5th, with Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible going up 4 whole spaces. 4 spaces that Kubo's gone up, which is very interesting because, Kubo wasn't originally supposed to be in this season. It got bumped over. So now for it to be in 6th, good for it. Good job. Finishing off the list, we got Ray Liana in 7th, Yamada-kun coming back into the top 10 into 8th position, with Demon Slayer's most recent arc in 9th, and Tonikawa re-entering the top 10. Oh my god, Tonikawa. I've loved Tonikawa since the first season, so I'm very happy that the second season is making any semblance of representation in the top 10. Considering how the voters of Anime Trending have been this season with romance series, because, with Yamada-kun at 8, Dangers in My Heart, Insomniacs, Loafer, I would have thought Tonikawa would have been a little bit higher, but maybe it's because it's a second season and we didn't get a lot of fan transition carried over from the first season? Maybe? Not sure. As per usual, the voting habits of people on Anime Trending have been an absolute mystery to me, and I don't get it. But of course, for my own personal enjoyment, I'm happy to announce that Otaku Alpha's gone up 3 spaces and is now in 24th position. On the one hand, that is still far too low in my mind, but on the plus side, that is the highest that it's been the entire season. So if I'm very lucky, it can actually go up higher than that, and I don't think it'll reach the top 10, but if it's in the top 20 by the end of the season, I'll consider that a win. Now, next week is probably going to be a little bit depressing here because, Oshinoko is going to come back. It's going to get back into the top 10, more than likely, and then virtually everything on the list is going to say that it goes down a space because, well, of course it did. And that is the biggest problem I have right now with shows that are going on hiatus or getting a recap episode and then coming back is that these ranking charts get all screwy because, there's no new episodes, so people aren't going to vote that the no episode was great unless everyone's going to say that the recap episodes was great, and we're all going to be lying if we do that. But it's just looking at this, you would think that Oshinoko is not a series that people are watching. They absolutely are, just not this week. And it's the only downside of looking at these ranking things. So with any luck, hopefully next week, we'll have no recap episodes within anime that could exist within the top 10. We'll have a better idea of how things are going for week 9, and then we can transition into the last couple of weeks of the season with a really good idea and understanding of what is popular, at least according to this particular website. And of course, that is it for our show today. So subscribe if you haven't, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, and hopefully we'll still be at the studio when that happens and when we continue on. Until next time, watch more anime and stay frosty.